So another position we got some news on this week, and this is kind of twofold, that we haven't talked a lot about. We talked a little bit about, but not a lot about, is running back. And this kind of came in two stages, and it goes back a ways. So Tony Dews, the running backs coach, he talked this week. And first off, we'll start here. I got to ask him about Ramondre Stevenson and the fumble issues, and I wrote about this on 985thesportshub.com as well. Talked about how they want to coach Stevenson up, and he's a believer in Stevenson, and he has been since Dews was with Tennessee, scouting Stevenson coming out of the draft. And he talked about how it's a mental thing first and foremost. Once they kind of clear that, it's in the past with the fumbling issues. Then you start to put on the tape and look at the technique. But it was only really last year that Stevenson had a fumble issue. 7 fumbles last year, 7 combined his first 3 seasons. So Tony Dews seems to think he can work his way out of it. Mike Vrabel also was supportive of him at the owners' meetings last week, saying he believes that there are things the team can do to help Stevenson get in a better place when it comes to the ball security. So the people who are on the trade Ramondre Stevenson, move on, Ashton Genty at the top of the draft, whatever. I think Stevenson's the lead back again this year. I think he is. I think they believe that they can turn around what went wrong for him last year, and they're still going to have faith in him leading the rushing attack.
Yeah, I think as far as him and pretty much anybody else on the roster that might have taken a dip in performance last year, it's like...
That hasn't gotten cut.
You kind of... Yeah, they haven't already moved on from. You kind of have to sort of almost discount last year based on how bad it was, how bad the coaching was.
Well, it's Vrabel, not that second part, but Vrabel said that, right? And a lot of the assistant coaches, too, talked about clean slate moving forward. We're only judging moving forward. That does seem to be the... I don't know, message, I guess, inside the building.
Yeah. But with Stevenson and the fumbling specifically, like, that right there was why Bill Belichick was so disciplinary and so serious and strict about fumbling. You fumble, you sit the rest of the game. Like, that was, most of the time, that's what Bill Belichick did. Bill Belichick would have benched Ramondre Stevenson the second he fumbled. Like that, but, you know, Jerome Mayo keeps putting him back in there. And then I think that wasn't there a game where he said, Ramondre will not be starting, or Gibson's going to start, and then Ramondre started.
Mayo.
Like, that was with Mayo
that was
last
this
year.
year,
Like,
yep.
that was just so disorganized, so sort of hands off. Like, I don't know that Vrabel and Tony Dews are going to be as disciplinary and austere about it as Bill Belichick was when it came to the ball security, but I think Bill Belichick drilled that into guys' heads, and like that's sort of why you do that, like, and you stay on top of that every single week. Like, that's why they're drilling it into their heads. Like, you need to hold on to the football. Ball security is job security is a thing that we heard a lot, and so it remains to be seen how strict Vrabel's going to be about that and how they're going to sort of teach that, but I'm pretty confident based on, you know, the whole new coaching staff and, you know, going from Mayo to Vrabel that Stevenson is going to work out those fumbling issues because, like you said, it wasn't really a problem until last year. So I think that is sort of a reflection more of the coaching than of Stevenson as a player. Stevenson's a good back. Like, yes. Maybe they overpaid him, that they didn't need to give him that 4-year extension necessarily. But I think he's going to be a good back. He's going to be good on early downs, and I think this is maybe leading into the second part of the running backs. That he's not going to be relied on to be a bell cow catching the ball or touching the ball 40 times a game every week.
Yeah, I think that's part of the way they can help him. And we actually talked about this a few weeks ago when they met with Woody Marks from USC pre-draft, that the receiving back role may be coming back. So I asked Tony Dews about just kind of his thoughts on how you like splitting up running back roles and things like that, and he basically, like, he always kind of looked at how the Patriots were able to do a good job of putting their backs in good positions. And I just, it was a longer conversation, but kind of like, all right, you're going to ask guys to do what they're good at. You're not going to ask guys to do what they're not good at. It seems easy. Across the NFL, you'd be surprised how much teams struggle with that at every position. So then we get Mike Reese on Sunday kind of noting, and when Mike Reese notes something, you didn't report anything, but you kind of, the antennas go up, right? When Mike Reese makes an observation.
Yeah, just a thought.
Just a thought. Maybe that passing down back role is coming back. I love this. I know I've talked about it, but I want to talk about it again because I think it's a great thing for Ramondre. It's a great thing for Drake. It's a great thing for Josh McDaniels. It's just going to help everybody out. Now, who is that? They have options. I think Antonio Gibson's a candidate. I think, like, for all the noise, and Mike Vrabel did say on Monday they do want to draft a running back. So there'll be somebody else in there. Is it an early down back? Is it a passing down back? We'll see. I think it could be Gibson, but if they do go in the draft, there are options. Woody Marks is one who they met with. LaQuint Allen from Syracuse led all running backs in receiving in college football last year. Brashard Smith from SMU is a converted receiver, ran a 4.39 40, so also gives you some speed in the offense. If they want to go a little bit richer, right? So these are all day 3 guys. Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. People don't realize how good of a pass catcher Cam Scatabo is. Now, I don't know if they're going to go that high. I think this is going to be a day 3 thing. James White was a 4th round pick, and in this draft, like people might roll their eyes at that, and they see where like Brashard Smith and LaQuint Allen and Woody Marks are projected, and they look at that and they say, you're getting all hot and bothered over a 6th or 7th round pick fixing the offense. Most years, those guys are 4th round picks. This is not most years when it comes to running backs. So maybe they draft somebody and Gibson. I don't know. I wouldn't even hate if they draft 2 backs. You have your early down back in Stevenson, your passing down back in Gibson, and then you have a young guy in each spot, although maybe Terrell Williams is your young guy. Not Terrell Williams, Terrell Jennings in that early down back spot. But I love that it seems like McDaniels is going to bring back. I hate calling it the James White role because I think that kind of defaults into comparing that player to James White, which isn't fair. But I like that role's coming back.
Well, I mean, that's what we do here, right? That's
right.
What we want everyone to be a new version of what they had when they were winning Super Bowls. So I don't mind the comparison. It's not like James White, yes, he was a great player, but is it absolutely impossible that they could get another like similar James White type player in the draft? No, it's not impossible.
Great.
Like, who knows? Like, he's not going to have Tom Brady throwing in the ball. They're not necessarily going to be in the Super Bowl every other year. But can you get a guy who can be a reliable with his hands, runs decent routes, be a safety valve, catch a little dump off every now and then, catch a little screen pass. Like they've really been missing that pretty much ever since Brady and James White were gone. Like ever since James White
they never
left.
replaced James White. Like Brandon Bolden did it for half a season. And speaking of Brandon Bolden, I will remind people, like if you're looking at players for this role, though, don't forget pass blocking is maybe the biggest part of it. Don't just look for guys that can catch the football. You got to be able to pass block. Jim, were you going to
What's Lofty doing back there?
You have a thought? Back the mic. Okay. I thought you were grabbing the mic to start talking. Okay. Jim's in here making sure the mics work because, again, new studio. We're trying this out. Any other thoughts on the running backs?
Well, I think it would be good to just have that, like I said, a safety valve for Drake May. I feel like he didn't really have anything like that last year. I felt like he dropped back and he felt like he had to just heave it down the field to Kayshon Boutte. Like Kayshon Boutte was his safety valve 40 yards down the field. So it'll be good to have a running back that can just swing out and throw him a little dump off every now and then, maybe get a drive started that way. And so, like that's a sign that like Josh McDaniels is going to bring back a lot of the same elements that we were used to seeing when he was here before. And so I think it'll be good for Drake May, and I think it'll be good for the offense.
One more thing for me, just from the coaches, Jeremy Springer said they are bringing in another kicker to compete with John Parker Romo. Maybe not the biggest surprise, but we get some confirmation on that. He also said, and I've worked under this viewpoint for a long time because this is what they did under Bill. If they were going to bring in a kicker, veteran market, rookie, whatever, it had to be somebody with experience kicking outdoors in inclement weather. They weren't drafting guys who grew up in the South and kicked in the South or were indoors or whatever. Sounds like Springer may be going away from that. Not entirely. He said it would still be a factor, but he said you go to the workouts, you see the way the guys hit the ball, things like that. You can sort of tell a little bit if it's going to translate. So that maybe puts some more kickers in play than we thought. Andres Borregales from Miami is viewed as the top kicker in this draft. Grew up in Miami, kicked in Miami. So again, not a guy that has that experience, but he's a good kicker. I'm still going to pound the table for Ben Sauls. 7 for 10 from 50-plus last year. Did a great job kicking in Acrisure Stadium, which is viewed as arguably the hardest stadium for kickers in the NFL. Now, Springer was big on consistency, and the thing with Sauls, he has 2 really good years in 2022 and 2024. 2023 is not a good year for him. He took a big step back. So if they want consistency, that may be something they look at that they don't love. But I think it's going to be one of those two guys. And Sauls also told me at the Combine he had worked with Springer a little bit going back a few years. So there's some familiarity there. So there's a couple other kickers. I think it's Tyler Loop is the kid from Arizona, something Loop from Arizona. So maybe it's him or whatever. But there's going to be another kicker in here. My guess is it's going to be a rookie. I don't know that they're going to need to draft somebody. They have those 2 7th-round picks, so maybe they will. But this isn't, there's no Jake Moody in this class where if you want this guy, you're going to have to take him. You're going to have to make an investment to take him. I don't think we're getting Chad Ryland in the 4th round. It's going to be late or UDFA, but there will be another kicker in here. And he left the door open for it to be another veteran. The veteran market, unless they're going to bring back Nick Folk, is kind of just empty.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a rookie.
Yeah, that makes sense. And look, like they have so many other needs, and they just need so much immediate talent that they don't need to, get that at the kicker spot necessarily. I don't think they need to use too high of a draft pick on that. Like maybe use one of those 3 7th round picks.
They use 220 on a kicker. You're not losing sleep over that.
Exactly. Yeah. So use one of your late day 3 picks or sign someone. I'm fine with that. Honestly, Barth, I think all they got to do is bring in a few guys for workouts, crank the AC. Turn the heat off, turn it down to a good 40 degrees or so.
Get some of those big fans out.
Put like a freezer. Yeah, put them in a freezer. Open the freezer.
The
put it in
Saints
front
did
of
that
them.
with the quarterbacks last year.
Did they?
I think they were going to Green Bay for a game. They were playing somewhere up there where it was supposed to be like historically cold.
Yeah,
and there was a report that like they were literally they cleared out the walk-in freezer in the team cafeteria, and they were doing the walkthrough or some sort of walkthrough. You can't fit 22 players in there, but some sort of walkthrough in the walk-in freezer. So it's not unheard of.
I love that. Yeah, I was just talking out of my patoot. I didn't know the team actually did something like that. But yeah, like look, kicking, it's a mental. A lot of it is mental, and like kicking in inclement weather, a lot of that is mental too. And like, yes, there's physical things that you have to account for, like the wind and the ball might get heavier in the cold weather and things like that. We all know we all know about the air in the football at this point in New England, and so like there's things that you have to consider. But like, I think just the ability to kick in cold weather or the snow or wind or whatever, it's all just about focus. And so like, I know that's hard to sort of project out. But that's what they got to work on. They got to meet these guys and see if they can, figure out based on just meeting with them. Like, does this seem like a guy that doesn't really care about that stuff? He can kick in any kind of weather. And like, I know Jeremy Springer, those interesting comments. Like, I want to go see how the ball looks coming off his foot and like how it spins and all that. And so like that, I think is important to note. Like you don't want to get a guy who sprays the ball all over the place, but well, he kicked in upstate New York, so we're going to take him because he's like, I care more about how do you kick the ball. And then it's really just, it's hard to figure out because there's nothing you can really quantify, but like, it's really just more of a mental thing as far as kicking in cold weather. And you just got to hope that they land the right guy for that.